What I love about this book is that it talks about the impact that students make on us. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachelle Dené Poth, and I am excited to talk to you today about one of my books, one that I absolutely was thrilled to put together, and I'll tell you why. But the book that I'm talking about is True Story: Lessons That One Kid Taught Us. And there are so many things I love about this book, and the biggest thing is that it's not just my story. It has stories, including myself, of 38 educators from around the world who shared a story about a student that made a difference in their life as a teacher. And so True Story is actually just something that I caught myself saying years ago when I would tell about something that happened in my classroom. I might say, "You're never going to believe this." Or I would tell somebody and they would say, "Really? That happened?" And I'd say, "True story. It actually did." And over the last couple of years, I started to think about different experiences that I had with students, some that were really good interactions, some moments that were challenging, some things that were really funny, and everything in between. And so I just started to write this list. And then I love sharing the stories of others. And so I invited other educators to share with me different stories about lessons that they learned from students that they had taught throughout their careers. And so the book is actually divided not into chapters, but into sections, and it falls under the theme of Thrive. And what Thrive stands for is tenacity, honesty, relatability, integrity, vulnerability, and empathy. And throughout the book, you'll see those different themes, and the stories are divided up from all of the different educators that shared their vignettes.
I was a fourth grade teacher, and I had this student who just came in every day, rushed to his work, and put his head down. He wouldn't talk to other kids. He wouldn't be invested in anything that I did, no matter what it was. And it just bothered me because he was so smart, but I couldn't grasp his attention. And so one day he just came in, finished his math quickly, and put his head down. And I said something to him in front of the class. And he looked at me, started crying, and screamed, "This class is a waste of 7.5 hours of my day." And I just took a pause, because normally if a student reacts like that, you're like, wait a minute, this is disrespect or whatever. But you take it personally, just naturally. But at that moment, I realized that he was hurting and that his academic and social needs weren't being fulfilled. I felt bad. It touched my heart because I knew that somehow, some way, I was failing him. And I realized that I couldn't and wasn't meeting his needs. He was brilliant, and his peers were not at his level. And I needed to find a way to dig deep to help him to get the support that he needed. And oftentimes, our very brilliant, creative students do get left behind when we're teaching curriculum and we're trying to get through curriculum and instruction and we're getting through our lessons. And I remember just thinking wow, I never forgot his look, his face, just his words, because they just made such an impact on me. It changed me for life.
So one of my first classes was a boisterous class of about 40 kids, and there was one boy in particular who was quite quick of wit. I later learnt that his father was actually a comedian, and he was committed to passing science because he wanted to further his aspirations with science and help others. And just before summer break, essentially what happened was that he had been diagnosed with a form of leukemia, and his hair began to fall out just before we broke up. But he was still committed to coming to class and learning, even though he was experiencing the effects of the chemotherapy. And I think that was also part of the fact that he was part of his Catholic faith, because my first teaching job was at a Catholic school. even though I'm actually an atheist. It was interesting teaching in a faith-based school to see that kind of response from a student. So he returned back after the 2-month break, and thankfully he was in remission. And again, I taught him chemistry again over the next following year, except halfway through the next year, the cancer came back. And this time the cancer came back with more vigor, more aggressively. And the school itself was positioned quite close to the local regional hospital. So for the next 12 weeks before the examinations, I spent time in his hospital ward after classes, after school, helping him go through his chemistry. And he continued, even though he was physically deteriorating, to focus on his studies. He continued laughing about it. He didn't complain, didn't moan. He just got on with it, which showed me his integrity as an individual. That even in the face of death, he still had that adversity of thought to push on. He sat his examinations at home under palliative care and passed away about a week after the final examinations. And I think the one important lesson that this particular student taught me, and not only in education or teaching or learning, but in life in general, was that you face life with an adversity, with an adversity, with an attitude to overcome, and take whatever life throws at you with a certain amount of grace.
My story is of one student who's very special to me. She constantly puts a smile on my face. She's overcome so many obstacles in her 13 years of life. She's my daughter, Abby. You see, Abby has Down syndrome. No, this doesn't define her. In fact, it's her superpower. If you ask Abby what is Down syndrome, she won't be able to answer and doesn't even put 2 and 2 together that she has it. To me, it wasn't important. What was important was letting her know she's special, loved, and can do anything she sets her mind to. We're very blessed as Abs is a healthy child. Mentally, she is challenged. However, you would never know by the way she carries herself. She can do anything anyone else can do. It just may take her a little longer to do it. Abby is spunky, sassy, and dances through life to the beat of her own drum. She loves to sing, dance, and make everyone around her laugh. She's taught me so much about empathy. Advocating for Abby began in preschool. Her teacher praised a podcast the kids would all create, and she wanted everyone to listen. Well, the day came, and I listened, and when Abby was supposed to talk, she didn't, so they skipped her. I was so upset. I spoke up and advocated for my girl. All along, I wondered how Abby felt knowing that they gave up on her at that moment and moved on to another child. Abby persevered through this situation and taught this teacher about perseverance and empathy.
I love the story shared. I'm thankful to all the educators that shared their stories in this with me and with you. And I hope that if you do pick up a copy of True Story, Lessons That One Kid Taught Us, that you will enjoy it. And I would love to hear about a lesson that you learned from a student as well. I look forward to connecting with you and hope that you will enjoy reading this book and will continue to share your story as well. Thank you.
After listening to these lessons, is there a story about a student in your classroom that has stuck with you? Comment those below and access our real life skills curriculum at everfi.com/K-12. Our free digital lessons cover life skills from financial education, social and emotional learning, STEM, and career readiness, just to name a few. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for more inspiring conversations.